If the objective of the maximum pressure campaign, led by the US, is to somehow contain and control Iran as if it is a pandemic disease, it has not had the desired effect. In fact, it has been totally counterproductive. It has only strengthened Iran's resolve. The Iranian people see it as a continuation of the Western policy practiced throughout the 20th century to emasculate Iran and make it a stooge for Western interests in the region. But ever since the Iranian Revolution of 1979, the Iranian people have remained resolute in their resistance to the depredations of US imperialism. They have rallied around their leaders and remained steadfast in opposition to US regional and global hegemony, supporting anti-imperialist nations throughout the world, from the Democratic Republic of Korea in Asia to Cuba and Venezuela in Latin America to Syria, Palestine, and Yemen in the Middle East. As a civilizational state with the longest record in the annals of history, Iran ranks with both China and Russia as bulwarks against the encroachment of the corrupt practices of the West. The West preaches respect for the principles of human rights, freedom, and democracy, but does all in its power to deny them to its self-avowed adversaries both at home and abroad. It oppresses its minorities at home, exploits its working people to the hilt with ever-increasing austerity measures, while waging war against any country that seeks to determine its own destiny, independent of Western demands. For the U.S., it's either their way or the highway, meaning accept U.S. terms or face the consequences. The U.S. thinks that its bullying tactics will cower the Iranian people, that its sanctions and embargoes, which are meant to punish the Iranian people, will force them to rebel and replace their government with one willing to kowtow to the U.S. as a willing vassal. But Iran, like China, Russia, and other victims of U.S. aggression, will not retreat, but will stand firm. Even though Iran, China, and Russia have different cultures and different belief systems, they are united in their mutual respect for one another. They adhere to the principles of non-intervention and non-interference in each other's internal affairs and mutual benefit in their relationships with one another. In so doing, they display an attitude that is the polar opposite of the US and its NATO minions, who practice intervention and intimidation in their relations with other nations, intending to dominate them for their own benefit. But as the saying goes, oppression breeds resistance, and Iran, China, and Russia are uniting in their opposition to US imperialism. This bodes well for the future. The U.S. is a sick, dying, and moribund empire whose days are numbered. Iran, along with China, Russia, and the rest of the non-Western world, is the wave of the future, will persevere and triumph.